I'm Kate, a 40-year-old woman juggling a part-time job and the demands of our home. Ted, my husband, is just a couple of years older, and we share our lives with a beloved cat. We've been married happily for 15 years, although I wouldn't say it's been without its challenges. One of the biggest disappointments has been our inability to have children. Another source of frustration is Ted's reluctance to pitch in with household tasks, despite his modest earnings. He tends to relax and avoid responsibilities on his days off. Ted has always been close to his mother, who lives nearby. Since his father's passing, he visits her often, claiming she's lonely, though I know she's far from frail. In fact, she can be quite difficult and lacks refinement. Just the other day, I stood in line at the grocery store when an unexpected loud noise escaped me. A mortifying moment. In my embarrassment, I turned around and hastily pointed the blame at the person behind me. My mother-in-law found this incident amusing and began sharing her own shopping anecdotes. Ted, my husband, joined in her laughter, but I couldn't share their amusement. I found her behavior distasteful and couldn't reconcile myself to the fact that she was family. Her unpleasant demeanor left her with few friends, and it seemed like her main pastime was making life difficult for her daughter-in-law. If it weren't for our strained relationship, I wouldn't mind visiting my in-laws. However, I doubt any daughter-in-law would willingly engage with such a character. Even Ted's older brother and his wife, Rose, who used to live in the same house with her, couldn't tolerate her and eventually moved away. It's not hard to see why. Living with such a mother-in-law would be a daunting challenge, especially after Ron, Ted's brother, passed away. Despite Rose's patient and tolerant nature, she too found her difficult to bear and chose to distance herself. I can only imagine how much she must have endured. Rose wanted to create some distance, but her somewhat pampered husband wasn't keen on moving too far. As a result, the three families now live separately but close by. It makes me wonder if all the brothers are Mama's boys. What could possibly be so appealing about a mother-in-law like that? Even if I had to reside under the same roof as her, I could manage it if it were in separate living quarters. However, when she recently summoned me to discuss family matters, the contentious issue of living together came up again. I think it's time for us to consider living together, she said, sparking a heated debate. Live together? When can you guys move in? Just as I thought she had gathered us to discuss something else, she abruptly brought up the idea of living together. What surprised me even more was her assumption that it was already decided and she was jumping straight into discussing moving and dates. I was taken aback. Wait a minute. Hold on. I don't want to live together, I blurted out. I've seen how much trouble Rose went through, and I don't want to go through the same. I'm not asking you, I'm asking Ted, she retorted sharply, brushing aside my clear refusal to consider living together. My objection seemed entirely disregarded, despite the fact that I would be directly affected by such a decision. Well, I don't mind living together, Ted chimed in unexpectedly. And when it comes to taking care of Mom in the future, it would be easier for Kate if we're all under one roof, wouldn't it? I couldn't believe Ted had agreed to this so readily, assuming I would take on the caregiving responsibilities in the future. Take care of you? Are you serious? I exclaimed, incredulous. After all the difficulties you've caused Rose and me. Her expression soured at my response. Oh dear, that sounds rather harsh. I was just offering some guidance as your elder in matters of health and family. Education. Is she really the one to talk about education? I mused silently. Regardless, I have no intention of living together or taking care of you. If you insist, I will file for divorce, I stated firmly, startling Ted. Whoa, wait, divorce over this? Ted reacted, clearly flustered. Considering divorce over being coerced into living together and caregiving without regard for my feelings is not unreasonable, I asserted. I have a job and stable income, so I'll manage just fine even if we separate. Ted was left momentarily speechless. Well, if Kate truly doesn't want to, then I suppose we'll have to ask your brother and Rose to return, she interjected, causing Rose to panic. Oh, I can't live with my mother-in-law again. It would be detrimental to my mental health. Absolutely not, Rose exclaimed, clearly distressed. However, this time her husband attempted to soothe her. Calm down, Rose. Mom may have been tough on you in the past, but it was out of concern for you. She regrets it now, he reasoned. Regret? I haven't seen any signs of regret from her at all. Rose retorted, clearly unconvinced. Yeah, you never argue back no matter what I say, so it's not much fun for me either. It's tough when a daughter-in-law is as straightforward as Kate, but it's also difficult when she doesn't express her thoughts, her brother-in-law added unexpectedly. Rose was left speechless at his unexpected remark. Standing beside her, I too was taken aback and rendered speechless. Rose had always been a homemaker. If you divorce, you'll struggle financially right away. Kate works diligently. Unlike you, remarked the brother-in-law, prompting the mother-in-law to chime in. It's true, Rose. If you continue to be selfish, your husband might leave you. When a woman lacks good looks and a good figure, she ends up alone on the streets. I couldn't believe the mother-in-law's lack of remorse. She seemed to be escalating further. Rose used to be so pretty when she was young. Now she's gained quite a bit of weight, she continued, seemingly oblivious to her hurtful words. I wondered where this conversation was heading. Did you hear about those big deals? The zoo deals? I'm interested, I murmured, trying to change the subject. But the brother-in-law burst into laughter. Oh, that's terrible. Are you comparing me to a seal? Rose choked back tears as she spoke. I felt flustered, wanting to comfort her, but the mother-in-law and the brother-in-law continued their insensitive banter. No, it's just a misunderstanding. I was talking about the upcoming event at the zoo, right, brother-in-law? The mother-in-law interjected hastily. Seals wave their flippers and go ho-ho, don't they? Ho-ho, it's a spot-on imitation. To my disbelief, the brother-in-law and mother-in-law began imitating a seal, flapping their hands at their sides. Stop it, please. Are you both out of your minds? I exclaimed, shocked by their behavior. Rose couldn't hold back her tears and stormed out of the house. I hurried after her, chastising the mother-in-law. How can you both be so thoughtless and disrespectful? It's no wonder Rose and I refuse to live with you. Ted interjected angrily. You act all high and mighty because you work, but you're just another woman trying to make it on her own. You'll end up on the streets like Rose. Don't think of threatening divorce. You'll regret it. His words stung deeply. While I was in a more stable position than Rose, I couldn't easily dismiss the idea of divorce either. I absolutely refused to live together, I declared firmly before storming out of my in-laws' house. My priority was finding Rose and offering her comfort. After searching through town, I spotted Rose walking slowly. Rose. Kate. Rose turned, her tear-streaked face showing her distress. I managed to calm her down and led her into a nearby cafe. I can't take it anymore. I've always been bullied by my mother-in-law, and Ted never supports me. I sympathize with her. Yeah, both brother-in-law and Ted are such mama's boys, Rose sighed in agreement. It's not just the bullying from my mother-in-law. I can't tolerate his cheating anymore. And even worse, my mother-in-law is helping him cheat, Rose suddenly confided, catching me off guard. Wait, hold on. Brother-in-law is cheating, and your mother-in-law is in on it? How did this happen? I asked, stunned by the revelation. He's been seeing someone else for a while now. He claims he's visiting his mom, but he's actually out with his mistress. His mother covers for him, creating excuses and lying to cover his tracks, Rose explained tearfully, pouring out her emotions. Oh! My heart went out to Rose. She was not only enduring mistreatment from her mother-in-law, but also betrayal from her husband. It was a heartbreaking situation for her. I understand why you're upset. It's heartbreaking, but why endure it? You don't have to put up with this, I said, hoping to console Rose. But instead of finding solace, Rose looked at me with a puzzled expression. Why endure it? I thought you were enduring the same thing, Rose replied cryptically. What do you mean? I asked, puzzled. Rose then proceeded to unveil a shocking tale. After listening to her story, we both agreed to join forces and seek retribution against our in-laws. The behavior in that household was simply outrageous. There was no reason for us, as wives, to endure their ridicule in silence. We vowed to repay them double for the humiliation they had inflicted upon us and to assert ourselves once and for all. A month after Rose and I made our decision, our mother-in-law quietly summoned us once again. Without informing our husbands, Rose and I made preparations, seeing it as the perfect chance. With determination in our hearts, we set off for our husband's family home. I really think one of you should move in with me. Our mother-in-law brought up the topic of living together again. I'm getting older, and eventually you girls will have to take care of me. Think of it as practice. Before I could respond, Rose intervened firmly. I won't do it. I refuse to live here under any circumstances. If that's what it comes down to, I'll file for divorce. Her tone was resolute this time, catching our mother-in-law off guard. Ridiculous. And what about you, Kate? Our mother-in-law turned to me next. Huh? I was caught off guard. So, you want us to live with you because you expect us to take care of you, right? I clarified. Well, yes, that's part of it, but I also don't want to be alone. I want to live with one of my sons, she explained. When neither Rose nor I agreed, our mother-in-law's impatience grew. Can't you girls understand a simple request? This isn't a request, it's an order. You will live with your husbands here. Rose and I exchanged a glance and shook our heads in unison. We refuse. Perhaps someone else can fulfill this role instead, I declared calmly. With that, I spread a handful of photos across the table. What is this? Brother-in-law and Ted gasped in surprise. These photos are evidence that both brother-in-law and Ted have been cheating, I stated firmly, laying out the pictures on the table. They showed them entering hotels with other women, kissing in the shadows near telephone poles. So, you've been cheating together, such loyal brothers, I continued, addressing them directly. It appears our mother-in-law knew about this and helped cover for you both. And now, after all that, you have the audacity to ask us to live with you and care for you. How shameless. Rose nodded in agreement beside me. If you need care, ask these women in the photos. As for us, we're divorcing you and will not live with or care for you. But that's a problem, our mother-in-law stuttered nervously. A problem? We don't see any problems here, right, Rose? I said, turning to her. Rose grinned confidently. If you get divorced, you'll be the one with problems. A housewife like you won't survive on your own. Brother-in-law erupted in anger. Was he trying to imitate a sea lion again, like he did a month ago? Not this time. The threat of divorce is not a bluff, Rose replied calmly. I won't have any issues. I plan to secure substantial compensation from you. Additionally, I intend to demand compensation from your mistress. With that, I should be able to rent a small apartment and rebuild my life. It will require finding a job, but I'm determined to stand on my own. I'll support you, Rose. We both agreed to stand together and confront the situation. With my personal savings, I can manage for now. Once Rose secures compensation from her husband and his mistress, she'll repay me with a small amount of interest. We must extract money from these two, no matter what. Oh, Ted, I intend to seek compensation from both you and your mistress, even with my job. Finances are tight for a divorced woman in her 40s. I declared firmly to Ted, who looked stunned. I'm sorry, it was just a mistake. I didn't mean anything serious, Ted pleaded. Whether it was serious or not, an affair is an affair. I've already spoken with a lawyer, so please contact them, I said, handing both Ted and brother-in-law business cards from the same law firm. The lawyer's name on the card was identical for both. We both hired a lawyer simultaneously and managed to secure a small discount on the retainer fee. Quite the bundle deal, you might say. A strategic move worthy of a savvy housewife. Wait, let's talk this through, please. Don't mention divorce. I'm sorry, I'm begging you. Ted and my brother-in-law both knelt and pleaded, but my mother-in-law grew even angrier and began shouting. If you're going to divorce, just do it. Can't handle a little infidelity from your husband. I don't need such an intolerant daughter-in-law. Rose suddenly burst into laughter, her confidence shining through. After all, a woman gains strength with a big move. Mother-in-law, you seem quite tolerant of infidelity yourself. Could it be because you've been in the same situation? Rose's words caught my mother-in-law off guard. What are you talking about all of a sudden? Didn't you have an affair back in the day? That's what the neighbors said, with a part-time student from Ted's swim club. What's going on with your family's DNA? I know your late husband was diligent, but where did you hear such nonsense? Maybe you should ask around, I retorted, puzzled by my mother-in-law's accusation. Well, we'll be packing our things now, Rose and I announced in unison, standing up with bright smiles. Enjoy your time. Following that, Rose and I returned to our respective homes, gathered our pre-packed belongings, and departed. We had already secured an apartment, where we met up later. Despite numerous calls from Ted and my brother-in-law, we ignored them all, leaving everything to our lawyer. Eventually, our dual divorces were finalized and we received our alimony. My mother-in-law's plan to have her daughters-in-law care for her failed, leaving her to rely on her two sons. Evidently, a dispute arose between my brother-in-law and Ted over who would take care of her. Come back, it was my fault. Let's start over. I'll be waiting for you at the restaurant where we used to go on dates. Every night, emails like these from my brother-in-law and Ted kept popping up on Rose's and my phones. After work, we would read them, share a drink, and laugh about our ex-spouses. "Hey, Rose, you remember which restaurant he's talking about?" I asked one evening. "I'm not sure. The restaurant where we used to go has been torn down. I wonder where he's waiting," Rose replied thoughtfully. It was just Rose, myself, and our cat now. After Rose found a job, she moved out of the apartment we had escaped from together, away from that toxic family. Despite living separately, we remained close, supporting each other as friends. As I stroked my beloved cat and sipped my coffee, I savored the peace of my new life.